Is it time to sell your Solana as the network suffers another major... Oh, it just went down again. For 5 hours, the network is back up, but is enough enough? Should you sell your Solana? We have Eric Piscini, the CRO of Hedera, joining us to talk about some of their ecosystem growth and what to expect in 2024. We have news regarding the Ethereum ETF. Is FTX getting ready to dump some more cryptocurrency on the markets? And a new SEC rule that could potentially shake up the cryptocurrency markets. You do not want to miss today's show. Let's get into it. Hola! And my holas aren't as good as Robin. But Robin is not here today, so I am joined with my friend Forrest. But, it was a rough night for Robin yesterday. Lost all his money to me playing poker, and so he was a little achy in certain places, and so he needed to take a day off. We're joined today with my man, Forrest. Forrest, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Doing so good. It feels so good to take his money. You know what I'm saying? Just feels so, it's just like driving home, no music, just thinking about all the hands I beat this man in. Good times. Forrest is joining us today. Thank you so much, Forrest. We have a lot to talk about. And let's just jump right in. Forrest, should we sell our Solana? Let's get into this article here. Well, before you answer, wait. Solana mainnet beta experiences an outage. Swift action taken by the engineers. The Solana mainnet beta recently encountered a significant outage, prompting immediate action from engineers and contributors across the ecosystem. The issue, which led to a temporary halt of the network, was met with a coordinated response involving the development and deployment of a new validator software patch. As the technical team delved into the issue, it became clear that a significant effort would be required to address the underlying cause and restore normal network functions, which right now the network is back up. The engineers embarked on developing a new validator software release, to which it was almost immediately adopted. And then we have this. This is from the Solana status website. Block production on the mainnet resumed at 1457 UTC following a successful upgrade to the that version and a restart of the cluster by validator operators. Engineers will continue to monitor performance as network operations are restored. Forrest, you worried? What's up, man?
No, I mean, network outages are not ideal, but they plague every single chain out there. I don't know of a chain that hasn't experienced outages. So, I bought more. I bought the dip today. I'm long. Once they put the network back online, I started seeing price bounce a little bit.
Did it only dip to like $93?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. It bottomed out at $92.97. We had like bullish divergence on the 1 hour. And like, if you asked me yesterday, what's the most bearish thing that can happen for Solana? Like, aside from Bitcoin and ETH just like nuking, or some like, it officially being outlawed in the United States by the SEC, like the next most bearish thing that could happen is a network outage. Well, if one of the most bearish things possible for Solana didn't take the price down significantly, that's bullish in my opinion. So that's why I bought.
Aristides said Forrest Cardano has never had an outage. The man's
Cardano has had an outage.
Are you talking about the when the nodes are out of sync?
Yep, node outage. It went down for a couple minutes.
But yeah, their network was not down.
Network.
To be fair, the network never went down. They never stopped validating transactions. It's just it was degraded, right? The performance was degraded, and it
degraded performance.
Which is different from an outage, right? To be fair.
Yeah, a little different from an outage, but still, very, very few networks, I guess. Cardano is probably one of the few then. Ethereum has had outages. Bitcoin's had outages. Pretty much every other network that processes any considerable volume has had outages in the past.
So you, Forrest, so you don't see from, and I know you have, you've shared on the stream, so it's not like a surprise. We know you have a good size exposure to Solana. As a person who has that exposure, this doesn't worry you at all, right? Imagine if you don't think businesses, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, right? I
For
didn't sell
sure.
any Solana. I didn't buy any more, but I still have my original bag. It's not my third largest bag in my portfolio. Because well, the other coin, the MAGA coin, straight pump. But as someone like it wouldn't worry you like thinking about, hey, I'm a business or I want to launch and well, look, we're transacting millions, billions of dollars in transactions. We can't have a 5-hour network outage. You don't think those talks could potentially come about when people are looking to onboard on Solana?
I mean, look, it's definitely not ideal, right? Like I'd take no outage over outage any day. But where else are they going to go? You can make the argument for Cardano, but then you don't get the transaction speeds and the liquidity and the amount of and the user base that's on Solana. You can't go to Ethereum for the same reasons. You can't go to Bitcoin for the same reasons. You can't go to any layer two. Like most layer twos have had outages. Most of these other chains, they do have outages semi regularly. Solana is just the one that gets reported on the most because they had a lot of outages in one short period of time in the last bull market. And because, Solana is a pretty relevant chain that does a lot of volume, but I believe Arbitrum had an outage. I believe Optimism has had outages. I mean, Ethereum had an outage not that long ago. They're just incredibly common. The tech's just not there in my opinion. But it's not ideal, but it's not something that it's like, I don't think a lot of people are going to choose other chains over Solana just because of the outage.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, and like I said, Solana is my third biggest bag, right? And so I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh no, it's all good, nothing. No, it's something that they got to work on. But with that being said, I don't know. I just feel like Solana, the label of beta on their mainnet, I think it kind of gives them a little bit of an out. But I'm curious to see when the post-mortem report comes out, what happened? Was it another DDoS attack? What was the case? Because if it's something that a future improvement proposal, right? Something like, let's say, Fire Dancer, if that was in place, this wouldn't have happened. It would make me feel a little bit better. But it's something where, hey, they got a lot of devs on there. They got a lot of liquidity. You see how fast the team kind of sprung in action, which takes me to my next point, Forrest. You had a tweet or you had a post on X. And, you brought up the point that 99% of people don't give a crap about decentralization, don't give a crap about, virtue, and they just want to make money, right? Do you think that serves, like, does that kind of fit into the narrative of, hey, Solana went down, it's really no big deal, no one cares, wow, it's not decentralized because they just restarted the network?
Yeah, so I would argue that first of all, like you guys know, I've said this many times. Like from an investment perspective, I do not think that decentralization, on a spectrum, that more decentralization means more for the price action of any asset. To be quite honest, so we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I would say if the network was so centralized, which again, there's decentralization as a spectrum, but if the network was so centralized, it would have been really easy for them to recover from this. Because if it was just run from like one or two computers, one or two nodes, they'd have just restarted those one or two nodes. But it takes a coordinated effort from thousands and thousands of, I think it's like 3,000 to 4,000 nodes that Solana has running on it to restart all of their nodes simultaneously and get on the same page. So I'd say that's pretty decentralized. I would say that there's a difference between a network's stability and a network's decentralization. But yeah, I mean, like you look at any asset, like if you only invest in something based off of its decentralization, there's very, very few assets in the entire world that you can invest in. You make an argument that it pretty much limited to Bitcoin, and we know that even that's on a spectrum. But you look at the vast majority of assets, high performing assets in the world, most of them are centralized assets. So I don't worry about it from an investment perspective so much.
Cool. I do want to give a shout out to Jimmy gifting 20 memberships. The gift box has been opened. Also, big shout out to Redman as well for gifting 10 memberships. And then Crypto Billy, $2 super chat. Sin City Best Show on Crypto, my dude. Speaking of the best, our channel sponsor, Cam's Beware Technology, is the best of the best when it comes to figuring out a solution For all your networking, IT, and cybersecurity, they are the company that we have worked with very closely once we went from regular internet to fiber internet. And without them and their team, this stream would not be brought to you in 4K. So big shout out to them. If you want to learn more how they can help your business, visit bluewiretech.com. And with that being said, let's jump into we're going to switch things around here a little bit. We're going to do the Rate My Portfolio segment right now. And today's Rate My Portfolio segment is brought to you by Decrypted Tax. If you're like me, you're worried about taxes. Damn it. I can't get that stupid freaking paper from Coinbase to download and look at it. You got to go in there and put in your own cost basis and do this and that. Ernest, the man who runs Decrypted Tax, he's been on our show. Great guy. And so we're doing 25% off for any of our community members who use their services. So if you're looking for a great person who's going to help you with your taxes and kind of put your mind at ease, highly, highly recommended. There's a link in the description of this video. So big shout out to them. And big shout out to this person for submitting their portfolio. So here's the way it works. We get portfolio submissions. We randomly pick one. We go over it. We give our thoughts. While we're doing that, we want the chat. We want you to give your thoughts as well. So this is a $35,000 portfolio. Their goal is a 9 to 10x. Okay, so leading the charge here, you have 16% in Cardano, 14% in Chainlink, 10% in AVAX, 9% in Near, 7% in Render, Quant, and Algorand, 6% in Aptos, Metis, and Injective, 5% in Elf, no idea what that is, 4% in Mubi, no idea what that is, and the blank is BST, also no idea what that is. So, Forrest, their goal is a 9 to 10x. $35,000 portfolio. So looking to cash out around $350. What are your thoughts on this portfolio? What rating would you give it? What do you like? What do you not like? Is there something that if this was your portfolio, you would adjust to get as close to that 10x as possible?
Yeah. So if you want a 10x, you're on average, the assets that you're in are going to have to 20x. So like all of these things are going to need a 20x, right? Because first of all, like the entire portfolio is not going to, or like each of these things is not going to 10x in unison. So like in order for the entire portfolio to 10x, like on average, everything in it has to 10x. They're not going to do that in unison. So that implies that you'd have to be able to pick the top on if all these assets do is 10x each individually, they actually all 10x. That implies that you'd have to individually pick the tops for, a dozen assets here, which is virtually impossible. So if you really want a 10x and you want to actually be able to realize $350,000 out of your portfolio, you're going to need to take some degenerate risks, right? You're going to have to take on a lot more risk than this probably to get a 10x, because you're going to need everything to on average 20x, because you're not going to sell the tops on everything. Right. And some stuff's not going to 20x and some stuff's going to, only 5x. So I think if your aim is to 10x, like you're just going to have to go further out on the risk curve than a lot of this stuff. Like I like Chainlink. I like Cardano going in a bull market. I kind of like, people don't like my views on Cardano in a bear market because it's a poor performing coin in a bear market, but it rips in bull markets. I like Cardano. I like Chainlink, AVAX, Near, all of these things. But unless we just get a really, really big bull market, like really, and we might get the super cycle. I don't know that on average, Chainlink, Cardano, AVAX, and Near, and Render, and QNT are all going to 20x, because that's what you need. You've got to aim for a 20x. So if you're looking for like I think this portfolio could probably 2x, 3x, 4x, right? If that's what you're actually trying to realize out of the market. Because a lot of the stuff in here, I could see situations where maybe it 7 to 8, 9x's. And that's what you're gonna actually be able to realize from that if you're taking profits along the way is probably a 3 or 4x. A lot of this other stuff, Algo Apto. I mean, you got a lot of layer ones in there, which is good. I don't know what Elf or Mubi is. Maybe those are further out on the risk curve, and maybe they have the potential. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. I think one of the problems is I think given this portfolio, your expectations may be a little bit high for a 10x, for this to get to 350K that you can actually pull out of the market. I think in order to pull that 350K out of the market, you've got to have a lot of these coins do way more than a 10x because you'll
So
never pick the tops on all of them.
so Forrest, last cycle 10x's were everywhere. That was like the baseline. I kind of get the feeling that you're insinuating that a 10x is an extremely high risk, high reward style portfolio, right? That's kind of what I'm getting from this conversation.
A little bit. And I just feel like there's a lot of people that assume that just because an asset performed well last cycle, or just because we had a really, really big last cycle, that we're going to get that again. And I think operating under that assumption that Chainlink is going to 10x, and I'm super bullish Chainlink. But in order for Chainlink to 10x from here, like we need a really strong bull cycle. Link isn't just going to go up 10x if Bitcoin just putters around 60, 70K. We need Bitcoin, 150K for Link to 10, 12, 15. And again, 10x, like if Link 10x's, you're probably not getting a 10x on the entire portfolio. We need Link to 20x. We need it to 15x so that we can actually pull those profits out. Because again, we're not going to time the top. So I think that's just a really bold assumption to think that we're going to get the perfect bullish market cycle where everything's going to 10x 20x. I hope so. I hope that's the case. I'm bullish, but there is a chance that we don't get a crazy market cycle that maybe everything 5x's, maybe everything 4x's. 20x is lofty.
Yeah. Well, before I ask you for a number, I'm going to ask Rocco to pin the decrypted text to pin that from the studio, Rocco, to the top of the chat so people can click that link if they want to get that discount. So just real quick, 2 questions real quick. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? And what number would you give this rating?
My favorite here is Chainlink. I think Chainlink's just a really, really good asset, really strong asset. Great holder base, great tech. Really like Chainlink. Great chart as well. Least favorite, Mubby or Elf. I've never heard of those. So I just like, if I haven't heard of them, then they're, I don't know. I could be out of the loop. You might be, ahead of the curve on this.
I haven't heard of them either. Look, someone said, not to cut you off, for someone said in the comment, well, you have a YouTube show, you don't know crypto. Like, there's like 6,000 cryptos. You can't expect us to know all of them. Anyway, sorry. So what number are you giving this one for?
With the expectations of a 10x, I got to rate it a little bit lower. If your expectation was like a 3x, 4x, I would say that is super, super attainable with a lot of like the quality assets in here, AVAX, Near, Render, QN, all these great assets. I got to give it I hate to put a number on it, but like the likelihood, I'll do this. I'll say the likelihood chance that you're going to realize $350,000 out of this portfolio over the next 2 to 3 years is 15%. So I would say a 1.5. I know that's super, super low, but that's how I'm gonna do it. If you said I would give it an 80% if you said 4x or 5x, but 10x is just, it's really, really lofty.
That's
for
brutal,
a lot of these assets.
That's brutal, bro. Hey, but listen, just know that when you submit your portfolios, you're gonna get honesty and transparency here. We're not gonna just fluff you up. I actually kind of like this portfolio, man. Anchored in Cardano, 16%. You know me, normally I'd say where's Bitcoin, but again, I agree with Force. Now, I don't think the threshold is you need a 20x to 10x. I think you can get a 15x to start realizing a 10x. And I think some of these, like Algorand, for an example, could be a 20, 30x, right? Depending on where you bought it. Quant, not so much. I think this is pretty well rounded. Like you mentioned, a lot of L1s. I kind of like the Aptos. This is, to me, is a high risk, high reward play. I would have probably, instead of Aptos, had Sui or Say in there. Quant, 10x, you're looking at $1,000. I mean, the supply is really good. 20x, 2K. I could potentially see that happening. I don't know. Render, love Near, love Avalanche, absolutely love Chainlink. I like Metis too. Metis, the layer 2 on ETH. That one's got a good supply ratio as well. A lot of upside in that one. Injective, I'm iffy on Injective. And then 5 and 4% in Elf and Mubi. Again, not sure what these crypto projects are, but 35K is not chump change. That's a good chunk of money, right? And so for me, having 9% in those coins, I don't know. I maybe would have decrease that a little bit and maybe disperse it or throw in a new token in there. You have AI and essentially render. You don't really have gaming unless you consider AVAX gaming. And then one that I'm like gaming and like casinos, right? Like Rollbit, Stake. There's another one. I think that's going to be a big narrative as well. We know gambling is one of the largest industries. I mean, we're in Las Vegas, but just globally, right? Everywhere in the US, now they're starting to legalize sports betting and some form of gambling. So I think that's going to continue to take off. And then liquid staking derivatives as well. That's interesting. No Solana in there. Throw that out there. So I would actually give this portfolio about a 7. I give it a 7. I think probably you'll definitely get a 10 to 15x out of, I believe, out of Cardano. I think you'll get a 10 to 15x out of Chainlink. 10 to 15x on AVAX, Near, Render, Quant, maybe, Algorand, yes, Aptos, potentially, Metis, yes, Injective, the other two, not sure. So I'm at a 7. Forrest is a little more bearish. He's at a 1.5. What does the chat think? We want to know. Chat, what would you rate this portfolio? 1 out of 10. Keep in mind, this person is looking for a 9 to 10x. It's crazy, right? Last cycle, a 10x is like, oh, that's it? You just want a 10x? Come on, man. We're getting 100x's. But you guys got to understand the law of diminishing returns. As the market grows exponentially in size, it's much easier to go from a $100 billion total crypto market cap to $1 trillion than to go from $1 trillion to $10 trillion, right? There's certain thresholds you start bumping into that is harder to claim. And so that is kind of where we're at. So just because you got 100 and 1,000 X's, don't expect that to be a common occurrence moving forward. So with that being said, I do want to show this piece of news. And then after this, we're going to bring on Eric Piscini from Hedera. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Rocco, it sounds like an Italian last name. Is that?
Piscini. But
Piscini. Well, I'll get a chance to ask
why
him
you
when
have to do
he joins us in a little
why are you
bit.
gonna imitate the accent? I don't understand. Why you do the accent?
I don't know. I love Italy. So we have this from Secretary Janet Yellen, and she was yelling at a lot of people. Let me before I do this, Rocco, let me make sure I got my audio going to the right place. Yes, we do. All right. Let's listen to Miss Yellen. What's she yelling about?
Council is focused on digital assets and related risks, such as from runs on crypto asset platforms and stablecoins, potential vulnerabilities from crypto asset price volatility, and the proliferation of platforms acting outside of or out of compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Applicable rules and regulations should be enforced, and Congress should pass legislation to provide for the regulation of stablecoins and of the spot market for crypto assets that are not securities. We look forward to continuing to engage with Congress on this. With this overview, I look forward to taking your questions on these.
So legislation. They can't even agree on where to spend money, even though they have a blank check essentially they're writing from. But we do have, we're going to share a little bit later, the SEC's new proposed rule change. Very interesting one. But any just real quick off the cuff thoughts on what she had to say there for us?
Look, I don't know specifics about what they're trying to implement. I mean, I think to a large degree, most stablecoins are already fairly centralized, right? Like, Circle can freeze your transactions, Tether can freeze your transactions. I like a world in which there's a mix of both, and I'm not entirely against crypto regulation. Like everyone kind of, I believe most people are in it for the money anyways. But at the same time, everyone just constantly is hammering home the idea of like decentralization. We need decentralization. Like, I think you have a world in which you can have regulations on crypto as long as they make sense. Now, am I confident in Janet Yellen's ability and Congress's ability to make stablecoin regulations and crypto regulations that are fair and make sense, fair to the average consumer? No, not really. I don't have my hopes up. But I do like I've said, this whole like circus that we've gone through with Gary Gensler and the SEC could largely have been avoided if they gave us clear guidelines and regulations around crypto. So I'm split on it. Like I would love for us to have frameworks for how we could have, ICOs and how people could launch stable coins and launch cryptocurrencies and coins in a manner that is regulatorily compliant and safer for the average investor. I think there's a lot of scams in the space and there's a lot of bad actors in the space that could be regulated against. But it's tough. It is tough. There's definitely a balance. And like I said, confidence in Janet Yellen is not super high. So yeah, I see both sides of the argument, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I'll give more of my thoughts in a little bit, but we do have Eric Piscini joining us. He is the Chief Revenue Officer at Hedera. Eric, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm David. The other gentleman is Forrest. It's our first time having you on. We've had Mance on a few times. We're excited to have you on. Did I say your last name correctly? I have this weird thing about properly pronouncing people's last names because my last name is a mess. So anytime anyone would pronounce it correctly, I would always get so excited. And so I don't know, some weird. But Piscini, right? Is that correct?
It depends. If you live south of Italy, you would say Piscini. If you live north of Italy, you would say Piscini. So it depends on where you.
Which is the better part of Italy, north or south? That's where I want to go.
What kind of question is that?
You don't ask me those questions.
You can ask that question, man.
Our producer Rocco, he's also Italian, so he's
I'm from Torino. So.
Eric, we only have you for a short period of time, so I just want to jump right into it. Big piece of news that landed today. Hedera secures $250 million deal with the Saudi Ministry of Investment for Web3 and deep tech development. Hedera has secured a 5-year, $250 million partnership agreement with Saudi Ministry to foster Web3 and deep tech development within the country of Saudi Arabia. And they have established what's called a deep tech venture studio. This initiative aims to support local Saudi and international companies in developing innovative technological solutions. Saudi media outlet leaders reported that the partnership seeks to empower companies to develop innovative solutions across various sectors, utilizing advanced technologies such as AI, blockchain, robotics, IoT, virtual reality, and quantum computing. Eric, this is pretty big news, man. A lot of money. Saudi Arabia, right? They're I feel like they're more progressive when it comes to cryptocurrency and blockchain than the United States is. How big is this news? What are some of the ramifications of it, and what are you guys most excited about with working with Saudi Arabia on this deal?
So it's a good representation of the ability of the ecosystem, our ecosystem, to activate those kind of initiatives, because this is the Hashgraph Association, right, who actually signed the deal. It is a really big deal. We are really excited. What's interesting to me are really three things. The first one is it's part of a much larger initiative from the Saudi to build the next version of infrastructure for financial markets. So they have deals with a lot of different companies, including us, and they picked us for the blockchain and the crypto part of that infrastructure, which is really interesting because, if you know what's happening in the Middle East, and especially in the Saudi, that creates the template for everything else to happen. The second one is there is a huge competition in the Middle East on who is going to be the next financial center and the next blockchain and the next crypto center. And you see that in Dubai, you see that in Qatar, you see that in many other places, and Saudi, of course, is a big part of that. So that's a validation that that region of the world recognizes the value of blockchain and crypto when it comes to not just making quick bucks on the market, but also building the next generation of financial services. That's really exciting to us. And then the last piece is they already picked very specific use cases they want to work with us, especially on tokenization of real assets. And obviously this is a big topic for all of us in the industry, and we invest a lot of money in tokenization of real assets to make it a real platform for investors in the region and outside of the region.
Awesome. I do want to talk about this here, Eric. So 2 new council members have been added. You have Hitachi, right? Hitachi America Limited as the newest member, bringing potential for real-world industrial solutions built on Hedera's DLT. This is a quote from their VP. Hitachi sees real-world potential in distributed ledger technology solutions built on Hedera, given the network's highly scalable and secure technology and strong commitment to sustainability. Hedera addresses emerging needs in supply chain resiliency, clean energy, IT, and the semiconductor industries. For example, its unique DLT provides the single truth and tokenization mechanisms for distributed workflows that are needed to address these challenges. You also had a new council member as well, Australian Payments Plus. They have over 150 partner institutions and processed north of 3.9 billion in transactions in 2022 alone. How big are these? What are these new council members? What are some exciting things that you guys are looking forward to them bringing to the ecosystem and to the board, to the council?
Yeah, and so just to be clear, Hitachi, the new member, AP Plus is the new name of an existing member, changing its name. So that's an existing member.
From BPay Group, right? I see it now. Yep. Thank you for clarification, Eric.
But the common theme that's really, really important, and that's something as we just discussed on Pauli, the really important thing is you don't know Hitachi much, right, as a consumer. You don't know AP Plus as a consumer, because we are being embedded into the fabric of the financial system, the fabric of payments with AP Plus, the fabric of IoT and electric power systems, and engineering platforms that Hitachi is building. Hedera is being embedded into those platforms, and that gives you a sense of how aggressive we are in becoming the next version of the industrial fabric, if you want, right? When we exchange value as businesses, we're going to use platforms, and those platforms are going to be based on Hedera. That's really the core message across the board, right? Whether Hitachi, AP Plus, or Pauli, is we are being embedded into those things. What's really interesting too is last year we had 2 new members, right? Dell and Kofra. This year so far we have 1, and we are just at the beginning of February. We have more coming, and we are excited because the pace at which we are bringing new members is accelerating, and that's a good sign for the validation that the governance model that Mance and Lehman came up with originally is the right model, and also that the adoption by enterprise is growing because they decide to join the council of Hedera, which is, again, a huge validation for us. So super excited by this. My background is blockchain for 10 years in the enterprise market, and I don't think I've been that excited about those evolutions that we see now in the Hedera ecosystem.
Eric, besides validation, what's like another important reason or focus for you guys in bringing in such a astute group of these massive companies? I mean, you have the likes of Boeing in there. I believe Google is in there as well. What is the vision of what you guys working with these council members? What is the vision of how it's going to improve Hedera, how it's going to help with mainstream adoption, not just of Hedera, but of the entire space?
Well, all of the council members do commit to building solutions on the top of Hedera when they join, right? So what it means is they're going to go to market and deliver new solutions, whether it's payments, whether it's IoT, whether it's whatever you pick the business that those individual organizations are, they commit on building a solution. So at the end of the day, the usage of the platform, the usage of HBAR and the Hedera network is going to increase because they commit on building solutions, right? So that's, it's a network effect through the governing council. That's the first value. The second value is obviously the brand, right? When you see those Google, Dell, the IBM of the world, banks, all over the world, different organizations, different industries, and more industries coming up. That's not just a validation, to your point. It's also a commitment to making the network better, because they are part of the council, they are part of the committees to bring better solutions to the network, and they govern that network. So that gives a chance for all of us to do something even better than what we do today. All right, so they contribute their technology expertise, their technology experts to improving the network with us.
Awesome. And then I want to throw it to my colleague, Forrest. I believe he had a question he wanted to ask you, Forrest.
Yeah, definitely. So on the website, I see a couple of applications that have been built on HBAR. So there's Hashport, Zeus Market, Saucer Swap, Stater Labs. I was curious, are there any applications or projects that you're specifically very excited about that are being built right now? Maybe outside of the enterprise framework, more on just the Hedera Hashgraph itself.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I love it because I know we don't have 2 hours in front of us, but we have 2 hours of content if you want to. I'll pick two. One is what we've launched over a few weeks ago now with Algorand, which is a DREC alliance, which is a decentralized recovery alliance. Decentralized recovery is when you have a set of keys, private keys, and you lose them. Today, it's very hard to recover those keys if you don't have them in a secure place and so on. Decentralized recovery is the ability to recover that secret, whether it's a key or any other secret, by the way, and recover that secret by relying on your friends, and we call that helpers, who would have a portion of that secret and reconstruct the secret for you if you lose it. We launched the DREC Alliance, and you can look it up online. We can add a link. We add Algorand as a founding member of this alliance, and we are adding more layer 1 and layer 2 projects in the future into that alliance. It is really interesting because, to me, one of the major limitations of adoption of crypto today is that issue of private key. Right? So if we can remove the friction around private key by implementing what Lehman invented with the DREC algorithm and now with the DREC Alliance, that's a really exciting thing for crypto adoption and for HBAR adoption. That's the first one. The second one is everybody's talking about AI, and everybody is dreaming about what AI and blockchain can do together. We actually did it, and we've done something with a set of good friends from Equity Lab, and Equity Lab designed a solution on HBAR to demonstrate the validity and the real value of an AI dataset and an AI model, right? I won't go into the details, but today the issue with AI is bias, the source of information, copyright issues, you name it, right? We all hear that every day on the news. What we built with Equity Labs is the ability to create a trust layer associated with that AI and make sure that the data we use and the origin of the data and the copyright associated with that data and the model themselves are authenticated along the way. So at the end of the day, when you engage with an AI model, you actually can have a very strong sense of security about the outcome of that AI model. That's game changing in the AI world, and we actually did it. And there is a lot of information we can share if you're interested. But those are the things that excite me because that creates more adoption and more interest into the blockchain ecosystem and into HBAR ecosystem in particular, because now we are making very easy for individuals and companies to use the network.
I love. I'm gonna be careful with my words here. I love having exposure to projects and following projects that are really looking to break those barriers to entry down. I think for the masses, right? The average person, I think crypto and in the ecosystem is a little too confusing right now. It's very fragmented. And so projects like Hedera that are looking to break those barriers down and definitely make it more mass adoptable, so to say, is excellent. Eric, I want to end on this. What is the main focus of the Hedera team in 2024? Is there one thing at the top of the whiteboard that you guys have written down? Is there one thing that you guys are excited about rolling out? Maybe some insider info you can give us, our community? Can we expect some exciting things?
Nice try, Dave. I am very excited about our ability to make Hedera easy to use and adopt by the developers. And we are spending significant resources and time on helping the developer community build faster and better solutions on the network. So a lot of different ways to do this, from the improvement of the technology platform itself, right? So we have a significant amount of HIP Hedera improvement proposals being implemented right now on the network to make that happen. We continue to add innovation on the network, right? And we are working on additional layers around security and privacy of the network that we can bring to market. All of that focused on developer adoption, because we know that by enabling the developers, we are enabling them to build new solutions and services that are going to be good for us and for HBAR and for the network at the same time. So if I have to pick one, I would pick developer and enablement as a key piece here.
Awesome. Eric, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to bringing you on again.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Big shout out to Eric. Love having. We've had Mance, like I said, we've had Mance on a few times, now Eric. And so love having these guys on and giving you guys an update. Looking at our ratio here, 197 viewers, only 98 likes. Why, I might add. Let's get these likes up real quick. With that being said, let's jump in to some numbers here. Forrest, can you queue up a Bitcoin chart, my friend? And I'm going to take a look at CoinMarketCap. BTC 43,156, up pretty much flat on the 1 hour, 24 hour, 7 day. It's flat across the board. ETH, though, is not flat. It's round, as it is rounding up to 3% up on the last 24 hours. I'm going to stop there. Forrest, I'm going to ask you to take a look at BTC, and then I myself, I'm going to take a look at ETH, but let's start with Bitcoin. Before we jump into Bitcoin, I want to share just this headline, right? And you know, when we brought Dan on the show last Wednesday, there was 2 Wednesdays ago, he brought up something that I knew was happening, but you kind of forget about it until someone brings it up, right? Headline trading algorithms, right? Crypto fear returns as FTX moves to dump, but it's negligible, the amount. It's like $2 million. $411,000. So it's not a lot, but the headline sometimes might be enough to kickstart these trading algos to go short or whatever the case may be. What does Bitcoin look like for us as far as market structure? And what are you expecting in price action over the next few days?
Yeah, so Bitcoin it's more of the same here, which has just been sideways chop for roughly 11 days now. Since we kind of had that, recovery from a lot of the fear around the grayscale Bitcoin being sold off. A lot of that's been distributed and we've recovered. And I think that in and of itself is a pretty bullish narrative. The fact that, $500 million a day in grayscale Bitcoin was being unwound and sold into the market. And we still didn't go below 38.5 and recovered pretty quickly. I think those GBTC outflows were down to around $100 million yesterday, which is significantly lower. So most of that's kind of subsided. And since then, we've just been kind of winding up. Anytime you have a downtrend and an uptrend, a symmetric triangle with a terminal point, it could break in either direction here. Or it could just chop right through it. And I know that's not super helpful, but you should be open to multiple scenarios. So one scenario is that for whatever reason, the market dumps. That could be related to traditional finance markets being a little choppy right now in China. The Chinese markets are just horrendous right now with the Evergrande liquidations. DXY spiked a little bit. Whatever reason, maybe Bitcoin finds its way downwards. I think that would be a buying opportunity. The uptrend would still be intact, and we do have a very important level around 36.7 to 37K. I think that would be the region that I'd want to buy if we fall downwards. Now, I'm personally bullish. My base case is upwards from here, but in order for that to confirm, we really do need to start to see a breakout here and a break of this downtrend level. Right now, we're just hanging out around this 10x long margin pressure level. Essentially, every time Bitcoin goes below 42.8, that's the point at which people can start going long on 10x leverage and maintain a liquidation point below this local low. The broader range that we are currently in is being kind of guided by our 5x and our 10x short margin pressure levels. Essentially, when Bitcoin's price goes above 44.5, you can start shorting and maintain a liquidation point above this local high at around 49K. But once price drops below this level of 40.8, shorts can no longer come in at 5x leverage and maintain a liquidation point. So oftentimes above that local high. So oftentimes you'll see price kind of shoot back up. So we've recovered the range and we're just hanging out around this 10x short margin pressure level. We're seeing decreased or dampened volatility as we wind towards this 42.8K level. I'd say look for a breakout on either side. Be careful of false breakouts. My initial target is 44.5, the top of this range. Oftentimes when you deviate below a range or above a range and then re-enter it, you move to the opposite side of the range. We've yet to tag the upside, the top of this range at 44.5. That's really where I want to be paying attention for Bitcoin's next move. If we move through 44.5 and we start consolidating above it or closing hourly, 4-hour, 12-hour, and daily candle 44.5, I think we're going to new highs. Right? If we get rejected, right, in a strong pullback, look for that 42.8K level and then the bottom of our range. If we break down below the bottom of our range, again, our target is 36.7K. So just being open to multiple scenarios here with a slight bias to the upside as those GBTC outflows have started to subside.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of seeing the same thing on my chart. I'm kind of seeing a wedge here that we're coming to a close. You know, we did have some tightening of the Bollinger Bands here, and this thing started to break to the upside, but price just fell right back into this pattern. But we're seeing we got a green dot printed here on the Lux Algo Matrix Oscillator. So this is not something that where you see it, you should just ape in and go long or short, whatever the case may be. But it kind of gives you confluence as far as what are some of the other things you're looking at. I want to take a look at ETH. We are still in our long position on Ethereum, and we're looking to reclaim this 2383 level. We see a breakout on the 1 hour on Ethereum clearing, and it looks like we're kind of hitting a potential sell wall right around this area of 2375. We did get a green dot printed on the oscillator here on the 1 hour, and RSI is starting to hit overbought territory. If we zoom out to the 4 hour, we've had this level drawn out for quite a while. And so what you typically want to see is a retest of this support to confirm that, hey, the trend has essentially changed for Ethereum. And if we do break above that, we're looking, for me personally, and I don't know if you have any insight on this for us, but this is a pretty key level here, this 2398 level. I think we can go right back up to that $2,500 level. And as far as the Lux Algo indicator, which, by the way, guys, if you enjoy these indicators, you do get 20% off. Use the link that's pinned in the comment section. We're still waiting for money flow to turn green here, but this is looking pretty good. ETH is looking pretty good. Volume's looking decent as well. So pretty bullish on ETH. Are you seeing anything on ETH that you're seeing for us? Again, I think we're officially in the green in our trade, which while you're going over that, I can kind of pull that up. But what are you seeing? I'm on the 4 hour. Are you seeing anything on the higher or the lower time frames that kind of confirm what we're seeing here? Or are you seeing something different?
Yeah, I'll share my screen real quick. I'll cover ETH. Yeah, I'm bullish on ETH, barring any sort of major. I'm bullish biased on the entire market, but barring any sort of like major downside event, I look at the high time frame. We're looking at the 3-day. We could be looking at the daily or the weekly. It pretty much tells the same story. Essentially, and it's the same ETH chart that I've been referencing for the last couple of weeks now. Essentially, we had our initial bear market dip right back in 2018, our dead cat bounce, right? We held it as resistance. Once we broke through it and turned it into support, we moved up aggressively in ETH. We've got much of the same thing going on right now, where we had our dead cat bounce, right? We crashed all the way down, held it as resistance essentially 2 to 3 times. We've broken through it. Now we're building support on the back of it. Usually if history is to repeat itself, that's extremely bullish. Now I will say in the short term, what we want to watch out for is this pattern taking a longer time to develop, right? We could get rejected here, right? In which case we may take a trip all the way back down to this trend line before trying to rebuild this, and this just turns into kind of a head and shoulders and a deviation. That's your bearish scenario. We start taking out this 2,400 level, all this prior resistance, which is really similar to the Bitcoin chart, right? We talked about $44,500 on the Bitcoin chart, taking out that prior resistance. We start closing candles up here. I think Ethereum could really rip. And I've got targets pretty high, 2,800, 3,200, maybe even higher. But yeah, the thing we just have to be careful of is, on the lower timeframes holding resistance here, but everything's looking solid right now. Again, if you want to be patient and wait for a long, I'd wait for us to take out that $2,400 level. Otherwise, I'm in a pretty substantial Ethereum long here myself. Alternatively, the other thing to watch out for is this may be taking a little bit longer to play out. And really where you want to, bail is if we break this trend line, right? If you're in a long right now and we start breaking down this trend line, that's pretty bearish, right? It doesn't mean we couldn't, maybe get a wick or something and still hold it, but that's generally going to be pretty bearish. Alternatively, we might get just another trip down to this trend line to get an entry point. And then you've kind of got a nice ascending triangle here, which is a bullish pattern, but maybe we'll be fortunate and we'll take this level out, this resistance level out today. That would be ideal, or maybe tomorrow, but I'd love to take it out and just move up from here without having to take another trip downwards, because we've had quite a few of those recently.
Forrest, you said if you're in a long on Ethereum, guess what? We are in a long on Ethereum, and this has been a trade that's been in the red for quite a while, but we are currently up 20% on our ETH 10x long position. We're also in the green on our Chainlink position, still in the red on the Matic. Thanks, Rob. So it's okay. I took his money yesterday. I'm just interesting though. ETH is pumping, but we had this headline: the SEC delayed Invesco and Galaxy spot ETF application. I think the day we're looking at for the final ruling on, I believe it's ARC, or you know what? Let's check right here, because I believe our man James Safer tweeted this. Where did I not pull that up? Right here. Bam. 100% expected, and more delays will continue to happen in the next month. The only date that matters is May 23rd. Okay, there you go. So final deadline, May 23rd for Van Eck. ARC the very next day. So we can assume these are all going to be lumped in together. But the next deadline is going to be iShares, which is BlackRock. That is on March 10th. They are expecting a delay there as well. And so we're expecting for this thing to go through to the final deadline, which again would put us in to May 23rd. Forrest, since Solana went down today, the network outage, can we take a look at a Solana chart? Why don't you pull yours up first? I'll pull mine up as well, see if I'm seeing anything, and let's see how price. I know you said you kind of added on the dip, but it didn't really dip, right? It went from 95 to like $93. What is that chart looking like now that the network is back online?
We're pumping. We're breaking out. I'll share my screen here. Looking at the 12-hour, we have a fat green candle, up 3.5% today. We are trying to break out, or in the process of breaking out from our downtrend level. I longed today at like 93 and change, 94 and change. I'm very long on Solana at the moment. Once the network came back online. In general, we've got, what I believe to be, pretty bullish consolidation. I'm open to the idea of Solana coming back down to 86. And it was a little bit uncomfortable this morning when the network went down. I thought there was a really strong chance that we would actually start see a big liquidation in Solana. People panic selling, down to like 86, 87, 88. But when we held here and we got the bullish divergence, if I pull up the RSI, right, on multiple time frames, but just for the sake of staying on the hourly chart here, we got the bullish divergence in RSI on Solana. That was my trigger to add. 94.77 has been a very big support level for me. And it's a level that I've added on multiple times after, initially taking the long at $84. Let's move this down short margin pressure level. Give that a second to populate. And I'll just show you guys these specific levels. These are, margin pressure levels off of our local high up here at around 120 something and change. Just give it a second to load. Get it on the correct wick there. Sometimes it's a little bit finicky. But yeah, this has essentially been so you see the big 2x short margin pressure level. That was the initial entry off of a recovery of this level and consolidated upwards, and now we've tagged this level 3 times. Really 4 or 5 times if we zoom into the hourly here. But 94.77, that's where the shorts start to capitulate. That's where they can no longer enter on Solana on 3x leverage and maintain a liquidation point above this local high. So the bears have to have a lot of conviction to short this back down, and as spot bids start coming back in, those shorts stop coming in, and we get a nice bounce or a reversal around this level. So yeah, Solana just looking strong here on the hourly, looking like a decent breakout here. Starting to see market structure shift. So you have these lows over here that have now been taken out. You're starting to see the downtrend get taken out. What we want to see out of Solana is we want to see a close, or we want to see hourly candles print above 98, 99, right? That would be a break in market structure. That would be a higher high, and then we come back down, make a higher low, and then we're off. On the bigger, the larger time frames, the important level to keep in mind here on the let's get this, and I know I'm kind of taking too much time here, but we want to see 105 get taken out. This was our high. We want to see a higher high. All of this resistance, we want to see this get taken out. We see this get taken out, I think we're going to like 150, 157. Obviously some resistance along the way, but all of this, once that gets taken out, we have a pretty high likelihood, high percentage trade, in my opinion, up to 157. We're not out of the woods yet, but price action looking pretty constructive here as of today after this outage.
Awesome. So, Forrest, since you kind of went over the structure, I'm going to take a look at some of my indicators here. So, on the 4-hour on Solana, as you mentioned, this pretty decent sized candle here on the 4-hour. And this was, right after the network went back online, this thing just started rallying. And I want to point to this oscillator here, again, from LuxAlgo. The last time we had a green dot printed where the hyperwave was below the money flow line, this was back on February 1st, and we saw a subsequent rally from Solana of roughly 7.5%. So if we see the same happen from this candle that printed this green dot here, we could see a potential price of over $101 on Solana, right? So that's about a 7.5-8% rally. So multiply that by whatever leverage you're trading on. If you are trading on leverage, could be some pretty good gains. And then more on kind of the larger time frame on the weekly, we are still in overbought territory on Solana, but once we clear this $114 level, there's really nothing stopping us to get into about $137 to $143 on Sol. And so you can see here, look at the opportunities that we had of picking up Solana, $14, $25 for a very large period of time. I mean, buying Sol under $25 from January of 2023 through October of 20. So 10 months could have picked up Solana under $25 and had a 4x in essentially the tail end of a bear market and the beginning of a bull market. So pretty bullish on Solana. I do want to share I want to share this piece of news. This was very interesting. So SEC adopts rule to have stricter oversight over dealers looping in crypto and DeFi. Shocker. The SEC voted to adopt rules that require market participants who have significant liquidity providing roles to comply with federal securities laws looping in crypto into the mix. This is a quote from the proposed rule here. If a person's trading activities in crypto asset securities, including products, structures, and activities involved in the so-called DeFi market, meet the definition of as part of a regular business as set forth in the final rules, gives an example of, hey, a person engages in a regular pattern of buying and selling crypto that has the effect of providing liquidity to other market participants, and no exception or exclusion applies, that person would be required to register as a dealer or government securities dealer. I'm curious to see, you know, the lending and borrowing, right, that happens in DeFi, right? I think the threshold is 50 million. What kind of impact do you think this potentially could have for us? And well, what are your general thoughts here?
General thoughts initially are kind of dumb. Having to register as a broker dealer because you lend or borrow in DeFi markets at a large rate, but I think most people that are, aside from some funds, of course, that are engaging in the DeFi markets, I think most individuals over that 50 million mark are probably just going to leave the U.S. And the U.S. will get less tax revenue as a result. I think the vast majority of people that have, if you're able to supply 50 mil or more and kick that around in the DeFi markets, chances are you have the ability to live, outside of the United States. At the end of the day, probably drives innovation and drives, people out of the United States. Like it's not a crypto friendly law by any means, but I don't know how big of an impact it'll have. I don't know how many people this directly applies to. It seems like it's going to be, fairly few people that actually live in the U.S. That do more than 50 mil in DeFi markets. So yeah, kind of dumb.
One thing I'll say is they're doing a really good job of making people leave the U.S. and taking innovation out of this country.
Yeah.
The largest capital market in the world. We're supposed to be the leaders in financial innovation and this and that. They're dropping the ball on this damn cryptocurrency, man. Forrest, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a treat to have you on extra days outside of Fridays. Guys, if you want more Forrest, first thing I'd highly recommend you do is sign up to his research hub. Take this from a person who's made a lot of money with some of the plays that he adds in. The one example I keep going back to is that MAGA coin. Damn it, Forrest, I got in at 10 cents. Even though I took some profits, that thing is at $2.50. What is that, a 25x? A 25x, damn it. And this thing's got a lot more upside, and you would have never found out about that unless you had access to the research hub. And so we have an affiliate link in the description of this video. Go follow him on Twitter at Sistine Research. And he does have a YouTube channel as well. So he does live TA. I'm not sure if you have a Forrest. I don't think you have a set schedule, right? But if you join his Discord, you can get all the updates there as well. And so, Forrest, any final words before we sign off?
Oh, thanks for having me on. Yeah, check out Sistine.ai. That's where we put out all of our research. We'll send it out on Discord if you join the Discord community once you sign up. We also send it out via email if you're not into Discord. But yeah, had some really big wins. Trump coin was like 25x so far, still going strong. We called Whales Market at 15 cents. It's at $3.40 today. I already took profits on that one. Would have been great to have rode that one all the way up, but that was another big win for a lot of people. Another over 20x. Mad Lads, we've had a pretty solid track record. So definitely go check it out if you're into investing in some low to mid cap plays that could have high returns. Obviously not financial advice, but yeah, we just put out research. And thank you as usual for having me on. Really enjoy coming on here. Bullish on Sin City Crypto, have been since under 1K subs.
My guy right there, bro. I love it. I think we're like 800 when you agree to come on our show.
Yeah,
what we also love is our sponsors. We love Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how they can help your business scale and grow, visit bluewiretech.com. And with that being said, Rocco. A lot of rain. It's like a rain tornado, It's a lot of rain in Vegas. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Big thank you to Eric from Hedera. Big thank you to Forrest for joining us. Come back tomorrow. We have Mark Yusko joining us. We love you guys.
Sin City Crypto. Everybody know what we here for. Entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in. For big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin, and sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't